Close your eyes for a moment and picture the night sky. Dark, endless, and sprinkled with thousands of glowing stars. For as long as humans have existed, we've stared upward in wonder, asking the same questions. What do these stars mean? Why are they here? Long before books or telescopes, the sky was our greatest mystery, a silent storybook written in light. And tonight, I'll take you on a calm journey into those stories. Myths of the night sky, gentle tales told around ancient fires, passed down through generations, and still glowing above us today. So lie back, relax, and let's begin with the very first question our ancestors asked every time they looked up: the sky above us. Look up at the night sky. Just pause for a moment and imagine it. Dark, endless, and sprinkled with thousands of tiny, glowing stars. For many of us today, the sky feels distant. We see it through city lights, from the windows of our homes, or maybe during a quiet night drive. But for ancient people, the sky was everything. It was their calendar, their map, their mystery, and their comfort. It was something to study, but also something to dream about. Think about this. Long before books, before telescopes, and even before writing, human beings were already watching the stars. Imagine sitting by a crackling fire thousands of years ago, with no electricity, no screens, no noise of cars or machines. Above you, stretching from one horizon to the other, is a sky so full of stars it almost looks like glitter spilled across black velvet. You can see the pale, glowing band of the Milky Way, a river of light flowing through the heavens. And you wonder, what is it? Who put it there? Why does it move the way it does? Questions like these sparked the very first stories in human history. People wanted to explain the world around them, and since the sky was always above them, it naturally became the greatest mystery of all. Unlike the changing landscape of forests, deserts, or rivers, the stars were constant. They returned every night, forming patterns that seemed to move in circles as the seasons changed. For people without clocks or GPS, these patterns were essential for survival. They helped farmers know when to plant and harvest. They guided sailors across the seas. But more than that, they inspired imagination. Imagine a child in ancient Mesopotamia pointing to a cluster of stars and asking, "What is that?" A parent might answer with a story, "That is a god watching over us." Or in Greece, someone might say, "That is Orion, the great hunter." Over time, these simple explanations grew into elaborate myths, epic stories of heroes, monsters, and gods, all written across the heavens. What makes this so beautiful is that it wasn't just one culture or one time in history. All across the world, people were telling their own sky stories. In Egypt, the stars were connected to gods and eternal life. In China, the stars were tied to emperors and earthly order. In South America, the Inca people saw animals and spirits in the constellations, guiding them in farming and festivals. Everywhere, humanity turned the sky into a giant storybook. And maybe you've noticed something magical. When you stare at the stars, you start to see shapes too. 3 stars in a row become a belt. A curved line of stars becomes a hunter's bow or a great animal's tail. Our brains are wired to find patterns, and so the night sky became a canvas for imagination. Each twinkle of light was like a brushstroke, and the storytellers were artists painting myths across the heavens. But beyond myths, the night sky also gave comfort. Think about those endless nights when the world felt uncertain. Wars, famines, storms. Life in the ancient world was hard. And yet, no matter what happened on Earth, people could look up and know the stars would always return. The same constellations their grandparents had seen were still there. In this way, the sky became a symbol of continuity, a reminder that even in chaos, there was something eternal and unchanging. Even today, when we know the science, that stars are burning spheres of gas light years away, the feeling hasn't disappeared. We still look up and feel small. We still look up and feel wonder. Think about how powerful that is. Across thousands of years, in every corner of the world, the stars have whispered the same message. You are part of something bigger. And here's another thought. We often think of myths as boring old stories, but they were more than entertainment. They were ways of teaching. If you tell a farmer, plant your crops when Orion rises in the east, that's a useful fact. But if you tell him, the great hunter Orion returns to the sky to signal the season of planting, suddenly, it's a story worth remembering. Myths made knowledge memorable. They turned survival into poetry. So, when you close your eyes tonight and picture the night sky, remember that you are sharing the same view as countless generations before you. The same stars that guided pharaohs in Egypt, storytellers in Greece, and lovers in China are still glowing above you. You are connected to them through time, through space, and through imagination. The night sky is more than just a ceiling above our world. It is the oldest book ever written, the first art gallery, the original theater. It has been telling us stories since the beginning of time, and it will keep telling them softly, endlessly, like a lullaby, long after we are gone. The Greeks loved stories. If you think about it, they might be one of the most famous storytellers of all time. Their myths, filled with gods, heroes, and monsters, have been told and retold for thousands of years. But what's especially magical is how many of these stories were written into the sky. To the ancient Greeks, the night sky wasn't just a scattering of stars. It was a giant picture book, a heavenly tapestry where their myths could live forever. Imagine standing on a quiet hillside in ancient Greece, long before city lights drowned out the stars. The air is warm, cicadas hum in the background, and above you stretches a sky so dazzling it almost feels alive. As you trace the shapes of the constellations, you're not just looking at stars, you're seeing legends. Every pattern holds a character, every cluster a tale. One of the most famous of these is Orion the Hunter. If you've ever stepped outside on a clear winter's night, you've probably seen him too. He's easy to spot. 3 bright stars in a row form his belt, and from there you can imagine the outline of his mighty figure. According to one version of the myth, Orion was a great hunter, so skilled that he boasted he could kill every animal on Earth. Such arrogance, of course, angered the gods. In punishment, a giant scorpion was sent to kill him. Both Orion and the scorpion were placed in the sky as constellations, and even today, they chase each other across the heavens. When Orion sets in the west, Scorpio rises in the east, as if the hunt continues forever. But Orion is never alone. Beside him twinkles Sirius, the dog star, the brightest star in the entire night sky. The Greeks imagined it as Orion's faithful hunting dog, following him loyally across the heavens. And nearby lies Lepus, the hare, forever being chased by Orion and his dog. It's almost like a scene frozen in time. A hunter, his dog, and their prey, locked in an eternal celestial hunt. Another beloved tale woven into the stars is that of Andromeda and Perseus. According to legend, Andromeda was a princess, the daughter of King Sirius and Queen Cassiopeia. The queen, proud and boastful, claimed that her daughter was more beautiful than the sea nymphs, which angered the god of the sea, Poseidon. To punish her, Poseidon sent a monstrous sea creature to terrorize their kingdom. In desperation, the king and queen chained their daughter Andromeda to a rock by the shore as a sacrifice. But the story doesn't end in tragedy. The hero Perseus, famous for slaying Medusa, appeared just in time. Riding the winged horse Pegasus, he defeated the sea monster and freed Andromeda. The gods placed all of them in the sky. Andromeda, her parents Cepheus and Cassiopeia, the winged horse Pegasus, and even the sea monster Cetus. If you look carefully on a clear night, you can see their constellations still telling the story of rescue and bravery. And then there are the Pleiades, also called the Seven Sisters. They are a small cluster of stars near Orion, delicate and shimmering like diamonds. According to Greek myth, they were the daughters of the Titan Atlas and the sea nymph Pleione. The hunter Orion fell in love with them and chased them relentlessly. To protect them, Zeus transformed the sisters into stars. Even then, Orion continues his chase across the sky, forever pursuing them but never catching them. The Pleiades are so beautiful that nearly every culture has its own story about them. But in Greece, they became a symbol of longing, escape, and eternal pursuit. What's striking about all these stories is how the Greeks used the stars not just as entertainment, but as lessons. Pride leads to downfall, as Orion learned. Arrogance invites punishment, as Cassiopeia discovered. Bravery and love can overcome even the darkest dangers, as Perseus proved. These were not random tales. They were moral lessons written in the heavens, where no one could forget them. And beyond their mythic meaning, the constellations were practical too. Farmers in ancient Greece would look to the stars for guidance on when to plant and harvest. Sailors relied on them for navigation across the Mediterranean Sea. The myths made the stars memorable, and the stars made survival possible. It was a beautiful cycle of story and science, myth and necessity. Even today, when we step outside and recognize Orion's belt or the shimmering cluster of the Pleiades, we are connecting to those same ancient stories. We may now know the stars are burning suns, light years away, but the myths remind us that they are also something more, timeless symbols of humanity's imagination. So the next time you trace Orion's outline in the night sky, remember that you're looking at one of the oldest stories ever told. A story of hunters and heroes, of gods and monsters, preserved not in books or stone, but in the endless theater of the stars. When we think of ancient Egypt, most of us picture pyramids, golden tombs, and the mysterious Sphinx gazing silently across the desert. But the Egyptians also carried with them a deep fascination with the night sky. For them, the heavens were not just beautiful, they were sacred. They were the stage where gods played out eternal dramas, and where human souls hoped to find their place after death. The Egyptians imagined the sky itself as a goddess named Nut. She was often depicted as a great figure arching across the world, her body covered in stars. Beneath her lay the earth god Geb, while above, she stretched her starry form from horizon to horizon. In their myths, the sun god Ra sailed his boat across Nut's body during the day. Each night, Ra would disappear into her mouth, traveling through the underworld, facing dangers and darkness, before being reborn at dawn from her other side. This daily cycle of Ra's journey explained the rising and setting of the sun, but it was more than science. It was a sacred story of death, struggle, and rebirth. Imagine an Egyptian farmer standing by the Nile at sunset. As darkness falls and the first stars appear, he doesn't just see distant lights. He sees Nut's starry body, the sun's perilous journey, and the gods themselves moving across the heavens. The sky wasn't just decoration. It was a map of the divine. One star in particular held special importance: Sirius, known to the Egyptians as Sopdet. Each year, Sirius would appear just before sunrise, rising brightly on the horizon after weeks of being hidden from view. This event happened at the same time as the flooding of the Nile River, a vital moment for Egyptian life. The floodwaters brought fertile soil, allowing crops to grow and ensuring survival. Because of this, Sirius became a symbol of rebirth, fertility, and divine blessing. The Egyptians connected this star with the goddess Isis, protector of magic, motherhood, and life itself. When Sirius returned to the sky, it was a sign of hope, a celestial promise that life would flourish again. And the Egyptians didn't stop at the stars. They also looked to the constellations and planetary movements as guides for both earthly and spiritual life. They believed that the spirits of the dead could rise into the heavens and join the stars, becoming eternal beings of light. Pharaohs, in particular, were thought to ascend after death, transforming into stars themselves, forever watching over the kingdom. The pyramids, with their sharp points reaching toward the heavens, were not just tombs, but stairways to eternity. Architectural prayers carved in stone, guiding the soul upward into the night sky. Some of their temples were even aligned with the stars. The great temple of Abu Simbel, for instance, was built so that on specific days of the year, the rising sun would shine directly into its inner sanctum, illuminating the statues of gods inside. To us, it might seem like clever engineering, but to the Egyptians, it was a powerful connection between earth and sky, proof that the heavens and human life were woven together. The stars also played a role in their concept of time. Unlike our modern calendars, Egyptian timekeeping was tied closely to celestial events. They divided the night into hours based on the rising of different star groups, known as decans. This allowed priests to track time even in darkness, and it infused every hour with cosmic meaning. Time itself was measured by the dance of the stars. But perhaps the most comforting belief of all was that the sky promised eternity. The Egyptians didn't see death as an end, but as a passage. Just as Ra was reborn each morning after traveling through the underworld, so too could the human soul be reborn into the afterlife. The night sky, with its endless stars, was a symbol of that promise. Every twinkle was not just a light. It could be the soul of an ancestor, a loved one, or a great pharaoh shining forever above. Picture a quiet night in ancient Thebes. The Nile flows softly, the pyramids stand tall in the distance, and above, the Milky Way glows. To the Egyptians, that glowing band wasn't just a cluster of stars. It was the celestial Nile, a heavenly mirror of the river that gave them life. Just as the earthly Nile sustained the body, the sky's Nile sustained the spirit. Even now, thousands of years later, we can feel their awe. When we step outside and see Sirius shining brightly, we are looking at the same star that guided Egyptian farmers, priests, and pharaohs. We are sharing in their eternal story, a story written not on papyrus or stone, but in the heavens themselves. For the Egyptians, the sky was never just a backdrop. It was eternity. It was magic. It was the bridge between the human and the divine. And perhaps that is why, even today, when we look at the stars, we too feel a sense of wonder, a sense of connection, and a quiet reminder that the universe has always been speaking to us, softly, patiently, through the language of light. Far to the east of Greece and Egypt, another world of star myths was being told, one just as rich, just as magical. In ancient China, the sky was not only a place of wonder, but also a mirror of earthly life. The Chinese believed that what happened in the heavens reflected what happened on earth, and vice versa. This idea was known as the mandate of heaven. If the stars shone bright and steady, it meant the emperor ruled wisely. But if unusual comets or strange movements appeared, they were taken as warnings that something was wrong with the ruler or his kingdom. The heavens, in this way, were not distant. They were alive, watching, judging, and guiding. One of the most famous and beautiful stories from the Chinese night sky is that of the Cowherd and the Weaver Girl. According to legend, the Weaver Girl, named Xinu, was a heavenly maiden who wove the clouds for the sky. She fell in love with a mortal, a kind-hearted cowherd named Niolong. Their love was deep, but forbidden. When the gods discovered their secret, they separated the lovers, placing the Milky Way between them like a river of stars. The cowherd remained on one side, the Weaver Girl on the other, their hearts aching for each other across the heavens. But the story carries hope as well. Once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month, a bridge of magpies forms across the Milky Way, allowing the lovers to reunite. Even today, this story is celebrated in China during the Qixi festival, often called the Chinese Valentine's Day. Couples write wishes for love and happiness, just as the cowherd and Weaver Girl wish to be together. If you ever look up at the Milky Way, you can imagine it not just as a cluster of stars, but as a shining river keeping two lovers apart, and perhaps also bringing them together. This story traveled beyond China. In Japan, it became known as Tanabata, the Star Festival. Every year, people write their wishes on small pieces of colorful paper called tanzaku and hang them on bamboo branches. The wishes sway gently in the summer breeze, as if carried upward to the stars themselves. The tale of the star-crossed lovers has survived for centuries, a reminder that even in distance and separation, love has the power to endure. But East Asian myths did not stop with lovers in the sky. The stars were also seen as guides for rulers, farmers, and dreamers. The ancient Chinese divided the heavens into regions, almost like a celestial map of the empire. Just as the emperor ruled from his palace on earth, there was thought to be a heavenly emperor ruling from the North Star, or Polaris, the unshifting center of the sky. Around it, the stars seemed to turn in endless circles, symbolizing the orderly movement of heaven and the stability of the world. Polaris was especially sacred. To the Chinese, it was the pivot of heaven, the anchor point of the universe. No matter how the stars wheeled through the night, Polaris remained steady, a fixed light in the darkness. For travelers, it became a guide. For rulers, it became a symbol of balance and unchanging power. Imagine being an ancient farmer or sailor, gazing up and finding your direction by this one bright star. It must have felt like a reminder that even in uncertainty, there is always something constant to hold on to. In addition to the heavens as a map, the stars were also tied to animals and zodiac signs. The Chinese zodiac, which many people still follow today, is based on cycles of years named after animals: the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, and so on. These animals were thought to influence human personality and destiny, connecting the patterns of the heavens to the rhythms of everyday life. The sky was not just above people, it was inside their lives, guiding their choices and shaping their fates. Across other parts of Asia, the night sky carried different but equally enchanting stories. In Korea, the tale of the Weaver Girl and Cowherd is also known and cherished, told with small variations. In India, the stars were linked to gods in Hindu mythology. For example, the 7 stars of the Big Dipper were seen as the Saptarishi, 7 great sages who played important roles in the cosmic order. What is striking about these stories from the Far East is how deeply they blend love, order, and destiny. The stars were not just lights. They were signs, lessons, and promises. They reminded people of the importance of harmony between heaven and earth, between ruler and people, and between lovers separated by fate. So the next time you look up at the Milky Way, imagine it not only as a river of light, but as a bridge of magpies carrying 2 hearts together. Picture Polaris, steady and unshifting, reminding you of balance in an ever-turning world. And remember that across thousands of years, from China to Japan to India, countless people have gazed at those same stars, weaving their hopes, their love, and their destiny into the endless night sky. When you pause and think about it, no matter where people lived, no matter what language they spoke or what beliefs they held, the night sky was always the same. A fisherman on the coast of Greece, a farmer along the Nile in Egypt, or a scholar in ancient China, all of them looked up at the same stars. What changed was the way they chose to describe them. For the Greeks, the constellations told of heroes and hunters. For the Egyptians, the stars were gods and promises of eternity. For the Chinese, the heavens reflected balance, destiny, and the fate of emperors. It is extraordinary, isn't it? The sky above us is a single canvas, yet every culture painted it with different brushes. To some, the stars were reminders of love. To others, they were warnings of pride. To many, they were guides for survival. And yet, beneath all the differences, the meaning was shared. The stars made people feel connected to something greater than themselves. Imagine yourself standing in a quiet field, far from the lights of modern cities. Above you stretches a black sky filled with a river of light. The Milky Way, shining faintly yet endlessly. Now imagine that thousands of years ago, another person in another land stood in that same darkness and felt the very same awe. They may not have known the science of light years or nuclear fusion, but they felt the wonder in their chest, the same wonder you feel now. That is the magic of the sky. It connects us across time. For many ancient cultures, the stars also provided comfort in a world full of uncertainty. Life was fragile. Floods came, crops failed, wars erupted, and sickness struck. But the sky remained constant. Orion always returned. Sirius always rose. The Pleiades always shimmered like jewels. No matter what storms raged on Earth, the heavens above remained steady, whispering softly that the universe was vast and eternal. In a way, the stars were like old friends, distant but reliable, always there to keep watch. Today, we know that stars are burning suns, millions or billions of miles away. We know their light takes years, centuries, or even millennia to reach us. And yet, even with all that knowledge, the feeling they bring hasn't changed. Science explains the stars, but stories give them meaning. You could say that facts tell us what the stars are, but myths remind us why they matter. The stars also remind us of humility. When you look up at the night sky, you realize just how small we are compared to the universe. Ancient people felt it too. They knew their lives were short, fragile, and fleeting. But when they placed their myths in the sky, it was like reaching for eternity. They gave their heroes and gods a place where they could shine forever, safe from the passing of time. And in doing so, they left behind a gift for us. Even today, when we point to Orion or Andromeda, we are speaking their stories, carrying their imagination into the present. Think about it. How many generations of humans have stood beneath these very same stars? How many lovers whispered their hopes under the moon? How many children pointed at the constellations, asking their parents to tell them the stories again? The sky is not just universal in space, it is universal in time. It holds the memories of every human who has ever lived, gazed upward, and dreamed. Perhaps that is why the night sky feels so calming, especially when you're ready for sleep. Its vastness puts our worries into perspective. Its constancy reminds us that, no matter how chaotic life may feel, the universe continues its gentle rhythm. And its stories, passed down through thousands of years, remind us that we are not alone. We are part of a long chain of dreamers, storytellers, and stargazers who all wondered about the same lights in the dark. So tonight, as you rest, imagine the sky above you as more than stars. Imagine it as the oldest book ever written, with its pages of light, its chapters of myths, its timeless lessons. Imagine it as a theater where heroes, gods, and lovers play out their eternal roles. And imagine it as a bridge connecting you to every person who has ever looked up in wonder. The sky has no beginning and no end, just as its stories seem endless. And as you drift into sleep, let those stories settle into your mind like gentle whispers. The hunter Orion, the goddess Nut, the weaver girl, the eternal Nile, the steady Polaris, they are all still there, glowing softly, waiting for you to find them again. The stars remind us of something simple but powerful. We are small, but we are part of something vast. And in that vastness, there is beauty, peace and a quiet kind of eternity. Close your eyes now, breathe deeply, and let the myths of the night sky carry you into dreams. As the stars fade into dawn, their ancient stories remain, quiet reminders that we are part of something much larger, something timeless. If you enjoyed this gentle journey through the myths of the night sky, I invite you to stay connected. A simple like or a subscribe helps keep these calming stories alive and ensures you'll never miss the next one. For now, let your eyes grow heavy, let your breath slow, and let the stars guide you into peaceful sleep. Good night, and may the sky's ancient whispers watch over your dreams.